it's part of the AEC program. Everybody's doing it.
We don't talk about Siskiyou. People say we don't talk about Bruno. I don't talk about Siskiyou, okay?
Who's Bruno?
Welcome to the Building Better with BIM podcast. Cody Ahern. We got our owner Michael Pear on today, and as a guest, Sanyukta with DPR Construction. Mike, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself since this is you're not on these podcasts very often?
Yeah, I'm Michael Pear, owner of MLP Consulting, and we've been in business now since 2015 was when we started. So.
2015. It's long.
Seems long ago. Now it does. I mean, it seems like just yesterday at the same time, but
Yeah.
7 years is a lot of time in BIM, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Sanyukta? You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Sanyukta, and I know it's super easy to butcher my name. That's all right. So I haven't spent a lot of time in BIM. I just started 1.5 years ago. I was in India doing my undergrad, and then I was pretty fascinated towards BIM and all the technology and innovation in construction, but unfortunately I couldn't find a lot of opportunity there. So I moved here, got my master's, and I got my master's, and then I actually worked for a electric subcontractor, did modeling, and all, like maybe everything you're doing right now. And then even I felt the same thing there. I was like, okay, I need more I need more opportunities, because at some point I was like, I felt restricted. There's only so much you could do if you're modeling just one trade. So, and then that's why I decided to come to DPR.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a bit overqualified for that position over at the electrical company.
I don't know. I just thought I could do more. And so
you were bored?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you get your master's from?
ASU.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
In construction management? Oh,
yes.
Really?
So I did my undergrad in civil engineering, but I was like, that's too much. I can't. So I was like, okay, construction management sounds good. So.
Right on.
Yeah, that's real impressive. I don't know a lot of people with a master's in construction management. That's for sure.
Really?
Definitely take you places with that one. So, and how long you been at DPR now?
I joined almost a year, so I just call myself a fresher.
Yeah.
So it's just been a year. I worked on a hospital project for 6 to 7 months, and then now I am working with you on the data center.
Nice.
So it hasn't been a long time, so I'm still learning DPR processes and the VDC management side of stuff.
So if you can make a difference in the BIM world, I mean, obviously you have goals and stuff. What are your goals? How could you, what's your way that you want to help innovate the BIM industry and kind of?
Okay. So when I started, I had like a list of things in my mind. And now as I actually started working like in real life, I'm like, okay, I don't know. I mean, maybe it wasn't realistic enough because I didn't really work in the actual industry. But now I'm like, 101 would be actually educating or spreading awareness, if you might say, about BIM. And I think, like I mentioned before, it's super cool stuff what you're doing. And like your listeners would be, before they actually start into the industry, they would know a lot more than me or you knew before we started our jobs. So that's my 101. And the second thing is not just like young people who are interested, even the people who've been in the industry, but they don't know so much about BIM, like our supers. And it could be very difficult, right? Because they've been in the industry for like forever. they're the dragons of the industries.
Right.
And then it's so difficult to, get them accustomed to the new BIM world or new technologies. They're like, oh, we can just do it because we were doing it since forever and it works, so why is there a need to change?
Yeah, they're doing it on paper.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, Mike, you were doing BIM in the 90s, weren't you?
I was.
They were
Yeah.
taking drawings and overlaying them.
Really?
2D BIM.
Yeah, we used to have a
Wow.
wall just like this. That might be, I don't know how old this building is, but
Yeah.
we would put prints up and we print them out on
Uh-huh.
AutoCAD. And everybody would go up to the board and they would see like, fire protection cross and ductwork. And so they would look at the elevations and
Oh.
we'd have the elevations of the ceiling and the structure there. And
Right.
then we'd circle it and we would stand there with the fire protection guy and go, can you do something? No, can you do something?
So that was your clash detection
No,
back
no,
in the
clash
day.
detection.
No
Yeah.
Navis work.
Wow.
Blows my mind.
We also used light tables. It was just a table with lights underneath it.
Wow.
They would shine up through the paper and
Oh
on the
yeah.
vellum. Yeah.
I know about that, but I'm literally hearing this for the first time. Like the old clash, it's mind blowing.
It was before Navisworks.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in BIM as far as, getting jobs done better, faster, cheaper. But on the flip side now, you have the architects and the engineers that know BIM exists. They know that there's better ways to coordinate. So rather than
Yeah.
giving us 2 feet of ceiling space, they give us a foot now because they said we can coordinate it. So
That's a great point, actually. So I don't know I don't know if it was forever like this or it's just since the VDC or BIM world started, the designs have become more not the best, I would say.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I don't know what's the reason. It's just because they know we can coordinate, or I don't know. That's one of the things. Like a lot of us are struggling, definitely.
I've thought about that too. I wonder if it costs more, as you go.
Mm-hmm.
The taller the building is, it probably costs more.
Uh,
And then, of course, the architects, they don't care what's in the ceiling. They don't care what's under it, right? Unless it's a
Right.
building like this, which is amazing,
yeah.
where you can see, the cable
pretty
train and
cool.
everything.
And I know Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, a couple of cities out here with the mountains have height restrictions on their buildings. So if you want to have a multi-story building, you got to cut out the ceiling space.
Yeah.
For each story you add to maintain those maximum height restrictions, because everyone wants to be able to see the mountains and whatnot.
Right.
So that's also a challenge. But I definitely think, with BIM coming more into play, the expectations from the owners and the GCs have increased as well. They expect
Mhm.
everything done faster, cheaper, better.
Mhm.
And I think right now we're in this place where we're struggling to find that middle ground with what works well, I think
Right.
projects are most successful when the GC can align the BIM schedule ahead of the construction schedule, and we're not quite there yet from what I've seen. It's always, we're BIMing as we're pouring concrete. Concrete's ordered for this day, we can't change it,
Yeah.
and then you're constantly chasing yourself as soon as you fall behind. And if we could educate people on how to avoid that, I think that's
Yeah.
where we take that next leap in the BIM industry.
But there's so much, so it depends on what kind of project you're working, right? So if it's maybe it's a hospital project, you might have so much time in advance to BIM coordinate. But for especially advanced tech, they just want it so quick, and it's not like I don't know, you just don't have so much time in advance for some reason. It's like, oh, we signed the contract today and we just want you to start the construction maybe in a couple months, and there is no way possible you can like sign off the whole BIM model, like every BIM model, by the time you're doing it. And then, like Cody mentioned, we end up coordinating as we're building, and it gets so complicated at that point. Either you're compromising the quality because you want to get it faster.
Definitely. I mean, you can have the fastest BIM team on the planet, but when the designers take forever to come back with RFI responses, and
Yeah.
that'll kill you right there. I mean, because a lot of times, if you proceed at risk, usually you end up biting yourself in the foot, because every time you proceed at risk, you usually end up taking that cost. When you wait, then
Right.
you usually get approval. But that one time you go for it, they're like, nope, you
Yeah.
changed our mind, and then you're like, man, So,
Right.
you learn just not to do things until you get that approval, and then just snowball effect from
Right. And you know what? So sadly, this reflects on BIM. Like, let's say if you are if the designer, you're waiting for the RFI to confirm or approved, they take forever. And then now the whole team, the like I said, the supers who we are trying to prove that hey, there is value in BIM, now they're like, oh, see, it's taking forever. In this much like span of time, I would have just built it. And then nobody understand that it's a process. And when you say BIM, it's not just like few individuals who are modeling and coordinating, it's the whole team, like owner, all the managers, whole design team, everyone. But then they just see that aspect of it, and maybe like planning it better might help. But that's one of the struggles I think we're facing right now.
Yeah, it's difficult with the schedule because I mean the owner, it's an Amazon Prime world right now, right? You want it like the next day,
Right.
so the owner wants it as soon as they can, and with like the tech for every day, like an Intel or whatever, every day that they're not running, they could be losing.
Yeah, a
half
lot
that
of
much
money.
So it's how do you fit it in, and still get it on time.
Right.
Well, yeah, now we're battling supply shortages, so lead times have increased tremendously. So electrical suppliers, mechanical suppliers, they got to order their parts and their equipment, months ahead of time. So the minute there's a change, then that's there's more cost there to get that expedited, obviously. So those are obviously the things killing the BIM industry. What are the things that are kind of, in your opinion, helping to grow the BIM industry?
Okay, so the basics, like you were doing 2D clash coordination. That is, nobody can question that at this point because there is no other easier way they could do it. So it's pretty much easier to get everyone on board with that. So if you could like start with that, and that would be the basic. And then when you go out in the field, you could do so much with QC or laser scanning to make sure that what you have in the model is exactly they're putting out in the field.
I mean, it shows, going from talking about, trying to coordinate on a wall. So it always had to be done, right?
Right.
I mean, if somebody wants to do something right, you kind of pre-plan. You think about what you're going to say before you say it.
Right.
You think about what you're going to do before you do it. So, creating a map like IKEA, you put together.
Yeah.
You're
like a guide.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So now we're just with BIM, we're just making it faster. We're creating ideas to make things faster.
Right.
So then we're able to meet those deadlines now.
So we're just waiting to see if Autodesk buys Visual Live or Trimble HoloLens.
I could see that happening.
So whichever one they buy first is the one that's going to get implemented. I mean, it's the same with Navis. They bought Navis and then look at it now, Before Autodesk purchased it, I can't attest to what it was like then, but I'm sure once Autodesk made that acquisition is when it really took off.
Yeah, they bought fabrication. Used to be CAD Duct and CAD Mac.
Oh.
And then they were out of, it was Map CC. They were out of England, and then TSI, they're the ones that sold it, and then TSI, they came up with Siskiyou, and then Autodesk bought. Well, I think Autodesk bought fabrication first, but yeah. So now it's part of the AEC program. Everybody's doing it.
We don't talk about Siskiyou. People say we don't talk about Bruno. I don't talk about Siskiyou. Okay.
Who's Bruno?
I don't know. It's from some movie, man. All these kids, they always run around saying we don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like literally lost with those references.
Yeah. Carly might know. I don't know.
That's okay.
It's a song.
Yeah.
It's a song from Encanto, I think.
Encanto. Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. You should watch.
My kids run around singing, "We don't talk about Bruno." Or something
Oh
like that.
yeah, the guy
Bruno?
the brother, yeah, who lives in the basement. Yeah, he runs away, and then everybody thinks that he's like gone, but he actually lives in the basement, and nobody knows about it.
There's a good video out there. This husband on TikTok or whatever. He's like, so my kids just came home and came up to me and said, we don't talk about Bruno. I got one question for you. Who the heck is Bruno? And he's all looking at his wife. His wife's like, you're such an idiot.
Yeah.
That's funny. So how does like from a general contractor's point of view, how much say do you have in what the subcontractors use as their BIM people?
Okay. That would be actually great because DPR being like number one advocate of BIM, we are trying to get BIM on all our projects, whether it's SSG or a big job. And then not every trade partner we have on every project is very familiar with BIM, or some of them have never done it before. So that's why we try to put everything in the VDC execution plan and in their contracts. So, and then it's like, hey, you can review it. If you have any questions, you can come back to us. So a lot of like I said, like people who are not, or trade partners who are not familiar, we get a lot of pushback. And at that time, on one of my jobs, we had these trade partners. They've never done BIM in their, like, until now on any of their projects, and they've been in business since a long now. And it was I wouldn't take names, but it was underground utilities. And in my opinion, although this is my one of the very first jobs I'm coordinating from like the beginning, so I've never coordinated underground utilities, but then as we started the project, I was like, okay, we have like underground utilities, and as we go on, like MEP and rest of the stuff. And I got to know that we are not doing it, and then I reached out to my VDC manager, and they were like, we should absolutely do it because definitely there is a value. And if there are so many things going underground, you definitely need to be sure that it's not like clashing, or they're put according to the plans. So I had to go back and forth like for a whole week just to convince them, hey, we need it. And the response we got was, it's like, hey, I think it's pretty useless, it's waste of time, I don't know what we're trying to accomplish. And I was very shocked, actually, more than surprised. It's like, oh, it's like we still have like people, or the whole, maybe, I don't know, I would want to say it's the view of the company, but we still have individuals out there who think that BIM is a total waste of time. And then I was like, maybe it's like, okay, I'm not hating you right now, but maybe I see it as you're just less aware or educated about BIM. So I was like, okay, I can just take the opportunity, teach you about BIM, and then you tell me if it's not valuable. So we just walked him through the whole process and like told the story from our point of view, that hey, this is where you can see value. You don't see it like right now, but when you move forward, when you have all those million RFIs, maybe when we start, you might start seeing it. So that much I'll say.
It's a way of planning a project out before you build it. I mean, there's value there regardless. I mean, I think every company has a plan, or has some way they plan their install prior. I mean, so if you're not using BIM, what are you doing? I mean, just using a chalkboard and a pen and paper. I mean, so if you require BIM, and as a subcontractor, I say no, I'm not doing BIM, and later down the road there's an issue, and then I put a change order in. You know, is that when you go, well, we should have BIM'd it?
I mean, so at that point, to be very honest, I don't even know if personally, I don't think we should move forward any trade contractor who's saying like a big no for BIM. It's like, okay, if you're not doing it, and again, depending upon your scope, if you're MEP, it's like, oh no, not happening.
You want to work for DPR? You're
Yeah.
And like you
Yeah.
said, it's not just the big jobs; it's the small jobs too. So
Yeah.
you're starting to get a lot of these smaller subcontractors that haven't seen it before, and they're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
So, you know.
So that's what something one of our managers at DPR, he just started. So we are like testing it and how it works. So we don't really know how that's gonna be. Like he just started like I think a couple months ago. So
Yeah, and I think that
that's-
says a whole lot for the BIM industry itself. I mean, if DPR, nationwide, huge general contractors requiring it on every project,
yeah.
even the smaller ones, that shows the benefit. I mean, DPR is not going to just throw money out the window. They see the
Yeah.
value in it, so they're going to want to pre-plan and do the projects right.
Yeah.
And I think BIM's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? One of the reasons I wanted to come at DPR was DPR is like one of the few contractors, general contractors who see so much value in VDC. Versus there are still like general contractors who are doing like outdated stuff and not up to the mark. And I don't know, it's just the whole industry is like kind of weird. It's like you're a GC, how come like you see something like how come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing that? It should be like pretty basic stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, mostly like on an average, what a lot of people or GCs are doing is just the clash coordination, and that's how the perspective of the field team is like, oh, BIM, it's they just see BIM is equal to clash coordination, and
Mhm.
that's all. So maybe this would be a great like platform for you to talk about, hey, BIM is not just clash coordination, it's more than that. So
Yeah, like Cody was saying, it's pre-planning. It's
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you hire MLP, you get a coffee mug and a T-shirt. So right there, you know.
Yeah.
No,
See?
it's if you utilize it right, like we've had multiple subcontractors do. You post BIM, once that model's signed off, that's when you call me and go, hey, can you get me a BOM? Can you get me a schedule? Can you get me construction drawings,
Yeah.
spools? We had a client we were talking with a couple weeks ago over at MMC, and they're using what's called Stratus. I don't know if you've ever heard of Stratus. But basically, with this program, they can take their BIM model all the way to the shop, all the way to the field, and they're tracking it in this program. And they can create spools in it. They can create prefab in it, and it's all done autonomously.
Mhm.
Everything's managed in Stratus, and from the Revit model to the time that piece hits the field, it's tracked, it's noted, it's marked,
Mhm.
and they can track it all the way through. That is a perfectly run BIM model. When you are tracking every piece, every
Yeah.
part from that model to the field, through the shop, through prefab, all the way through until it's installed. They know where every piece is, what the status is, and where it's at. And you can't mess up. I mean, you're gonna have zero leftover fittings. You're gonna save so much money. It's crazy, but you have to have the people on board. You have to have your whole team implement it.
Mhm. There's no way that, especially on the larger projects, that a project manager could know where everything is at all times.
Right.
So I mean, you have barcodes on the pipe. It's going through the shop. They're not even using paper anymore. You're going green too, but they're at any point able to know exactly where everything is. So it's a big benefit, I think.
It's something I'd like to check out, but for us, we're just the BIM team. We're just subcontractors. We're not doing install. We're not doing prefab. Yeah, we can help you with that. We can give you the tools you need to succeed there, but for us, purchasing Stratus, implementing it isn't something that we could do. Obviously, we could help them implement it and then utilize it for them, but they have to be on board all the way from ownership down to your foreman.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because I don't know how much you are using or how much you are in contact with your field team, or are you not?
On mechanical plumbing jobs all the time. I mean, constantly in contact because there's multiple times, especially with a lot of these TI jobs.
Yeah.
You need to identify point of connections, actual field conditions.
Right.
Like you said, the control points on scans are usually portable, never line up right.
Right.
We'll help them with fabrication drawings too. So they'll call us and let us know when they want material on site, and we'll work with the fabricator and kind of be like the bridge for them to helping
Yeah,
things
I know
out.
you got connections over at Superior, and
Mhm.
a couple jobs you're able to get them better rates on their sheet metal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, just because you can take out that middleman. So
Yep.
there's definitely a lot of perks.
Yeah.
It's just being able to identify them and teach these subcontractors on how to properly utilize them. I think on that concrete job, they reached out to me and asked me if I can get them volume on the amount of concrete they have so they know how much dirt they need to remove. That's
Yeah.
a perfect example of them knowing they paid for BIM, we can utilize it, let's
Mhm.
get what we can out of it.
Right. And then that's that, and they were not planning to do it before. And those are the instances where you realize, oh, it's actually, like you said, it's actually adding value, just throwing money out of window, or just because it's a requirement from the GC.
Mm-hmm. You know, I could see the pushback, especially from certain industries, site utilities maybe.
Yeah.
But plumbing, electrical, mechanical, it's a must without a doubt.
Mhm.
I haven't seen any argument that will tell me how a mechanical plumbing contractor, electrical contractor could benefit from not doing it.
Yeah. And then, so I also wanted to bring up something, because someone like me who's not been in the industry or for a long time or just started, a lot of students that studied with me in ASU for construction management, or especially when we took the BIM or technology class,
Mhm.
we have a certain expectation, or like we picture the industry, like BIM industry, to be a certain way, and clearly it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to force yourself in everything. Like when you say team on any project, sometimes they will not even consider VDC coordinator as a team. It's just a support. So that's one thing definitely I would like to change, or one of the goals, as we were
Mhm.
talking about. So it's not just support, it's because VDC people are building the building before
Exactly.
the foreman or
Mhm.
the field team is building it. So I personally don't see it as a support. It's definitely, there should be a part of um, the team. And
Mhm.
as we talk about inclusion, um, it should be like number one on the list.
Definitely, I think a good BIM guy probably knows those drawings better than the super by the end of the project. I mean,
They
you've
do.
gone through every
Right.
detail. You've gone through. A good BIM guy is gonna catch things in the specs, in the details, in the general notes
Mhm.
that they're not gonna catch. Like, hey, you got to use stainless slope duct right here. Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Those are huge things that we look out for. But that's a good BIM guy, not someone that's just taking a model and going, oh, it's done.
Yeah.
So doing that extra work, it's critical, not just a support role. Like you said, we're the
Yeah.
first ones to build the building. We're the first ones to touch those pieces.
Right.
Maybe it's virtually, but still.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. That's a good call.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's just so surprising that VDC still have to struggle, like being in, like you said, you started in 2015. It's been such a long time. Even then, we have to struggle for acceptance, or be as or consider as important, because nobody thinks it's that important.
Until you mess up.
Right.
You mess up, it's like, oh, that BIM guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then the BIM guy is the first one
Oh,
to be
yeah.
blamed on.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The estimator, the BIM guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your job's
So-
real important,
We're just support though, man.
man.
Yeah.
It's all
Like,
support's fault.
At this time, I'm done. It's like
Yep.
just
Thank you for your support.
right. So yeah, maybe like to the people who are like starting new in the industry, just as an FYI, you have to like force yourselves into all of it. Like you just have to keep bugging them. Sometimes you just have to be that squeaky wheel.
Mhm.
It's not that unfortunately it's not that easy, but some of the teams would be so nice and super welcoming. But yeah, if you're, I think that's where it comes into picture. Like if you're passionate about something, and then that would be like teams like this, and if you could like bring even like tiny amount of impact, that's a great achievement, right?
Mhm.
Because now if it's like team of 10 who's against BIM or not, they don't see a lot of value in BIM. Like if you can even like change one of the person to come to the BIM side, it's I think it's a major achievement. So
Definitely. I mean, two of our superintendents, Gary Polizano, Paul Frecti, they've both been on our podcast.
Yeah.
They were superintendents. One's a steam fitter, the other one's a plumber. I mean, 20, 30 plus years each in the field,
yeah,
in the trenches. They utilize BIM. I mean, Paul, he can do spool drawings by hand himself. I mean, they're
Yeah.
both just magicians and experts in the industry.
right.
Mhm.
We got them trained in Revit, and these guys are like BIM pros now. I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah, they within a
Wow.
year, but they have that superintendent mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and having that in the BIM industry, it's huge.
That would be so nice, right? Because now I've seen a lot of supers turning into BIM modelers. So, and then, or either way, if you can't have a super do that, I mean, usually they do when they're near to retirement or after retiring.
That's exactly the two we got. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you have supers, if it's possible for trade partners to have their modelers sit beside their supers,
Mhm.
who's so it's like a person who's virtually building it and the person who's actually building it. There has to be like a lot of communication between these two, and sometimes it's like
Mhm.
they don't even talk to each other.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's something. I mean, my whole career has been based off of help from superintendents, guys in
Right.
the field, and that's what I wanted to do when I brought on the superintendent. So we've got a sheet metal superintendent, piping,
Yeah.
and plumbing,
Mhm.
so that they can sit with the younger guys and
It's
teach them,
huge.
Yeah,
and then the younger guys can help with the technology, and then together they
yeah,
make
right.
something amazing.
Mhm.
I
You
mean,
should run a retirement program. Like everyone who's retired, just come on to the
that's what
become a BIM modeler.
Yeah,
We're trying. I mean, that's what getting those two was huge for us. I mean,
Yeah.
even before we hired Gary, I learned everything I know about plumbing from Gary. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a journeyman in the 469 union,
Mhm.
and I've never been in the field in my life. I learned almost everything behind the computer screen from Paul and Gary.
Mhm.
hmm
I mean, I'm provisional journeyman is what they call it, so I can't go out in the field.
Oh.
But I'm like a BIM journeyman, so I have the knowledge and the understanding. But it's because of those superintendents that I've sat next to and learned from and picked their brains. You know,
Right.
and like you said, you have to put in the work.
Mhm.
You have to do it yourself. It's not just going to come to you.
Right.
So that's really important for anyone that wants to get into this industry for sure. Is anyone with knowledge, get as much out of them as you can because it's
Right.
invaluable.
definitely.
But I think we're going on about an hour now, and I don't know
Thank
how much our viewers can handle of us. So
Oh yeah.
we might have to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
thanks for joining us,
Yeah.
Sanyukta. We'll definitely have to do it again.
Yeah,
Lot- lot to
Sure.
touch
I
on.
loved talking to you, and thank you for inviting me.
yeah, it's
So-
good information for sure.
Mhm.
And yeah, keep going.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
So remember, call him LP, and you can be on a podcast too one day.